Welcome, one and all, Guardians, to a special episode of Tired Place Destiny 2. Today, I will be reading a few of the lore books that I've unlocked because I wanted to start reading them. And since I have been having trouble finding audio recordings of these books, I not read them myself. And afterwards, we'll go over and dissect what I've just read. There won't be much background gameplay because this will be recorded live, as is literally everything that I do with Destiny content because I have trouble editing. And by that I mean I run everything through an iPad. I have no good editing software. Everything is just a piece of shit. So currently, it is April 25th, 2020, at around 7 p.m. EST. I only recently woke up, and currently it is Season of the Worthy. Trials is going on right now because it is a Saturday, and unfortunately Iron Banner is down because Saladin showed up last week. Other main events that are happening right now is Guardian games. Basically where everyone starts acting like a dick and trying to say that their class is better. I'm gonna go ahead and check on the statements right now, see what's going on, and then we'll start with the lore readings. I figured today I will see which books that I have mostly unlocked. I think I have the entirety of the Lawless Frontier, 3 in the Ghost Stories, 2 in the Most Loyal, 3 Letters from a Renegade, 1 in the Dawning's book, 1 in Dust, 4 in Stolen Intelligence, 5 from Orner, a few from Eris, the entirety of the Pigeon and the Phoenix lore book. I love this one. Entirety of the Dreaming City. Just gonna list off the ones that have all of the Aspect lore book. Entirety of the Book of Unmaking. Yikes. And a few of the Inquisition of the Damned. I think I'll start with the Book of Unmaking first. Because that's interesting. That will give us a bit of more of a viewpoint into the Hive. And then after that, I'll work on reading a few of the Inquisition of the Damned. However, I do not have all of the books of the Inquisition of the Damned, so there will be some patch notes. I will try to fill in with what I know already from various lore members. Titans are still winning and absolutely kicking our asses. It is day 3. Day 1 and 2 have gone to the Titans.
Those algorithmic decryption is supposed to be heat resistant.
How nice to see you. Did you get taller? Or am I getting shorter?
Alrighty. We will climb to this one area that I saw yesterday and start talking.
Guardians are always welcome.
Where did I see Soraya's area? Was over here. If it's good enough for her, it's good enough. Yeah, this is Soraya. Hawthorne's is down, down there. No, that's not Hawthorne's. Hawthorne's is... It's either down here or on the opposite end. Either way, I'll just have Ghost read this off again.
She's studying up. Vanguard history, the consensus, the faction wars, even books about the founding of the city. Huh. I wonder where Lewis goes while she's here.
So let's sit down and start reading for ourselves. Start with the Tangled Shore. These Badlands. Don't fool yourself. These rocks and this metal may be lashed together, but they ain't tamed. This far out, the only law is outlaw. The only justice, last rights. So walk careful. Head on a swivel, hand on the hilts, all that. 'Cause that glare you feel is the narrowed eyes of ill intent aimed at your honor, your heart, your head. And know this, your every step is set upon blooded ground. The whole of the shore is the wasteland built where few fought to survive. In the dim light of a lost age, this wild frontier was a fleeting hope turned final resting place, a graveyard at the end of existence. Some say you can still hear the screams, echoes of the lost and damned ringing from just out of sight. Don't believe 'em. That's the stretching and bending of supports, old metal moaning in the celestial breezes, the grinding of scrap and stone calling out, giving warning. From the Tangled Shore, a fallen text. There's no way that's a direct translation. Cade 6. By thy tongue be damned. Even here, the whispers persist. Faint, but present. Excerpt from C.C. Lagrange's translations of writings and observations from the Tangled Shore, a fallen text. A dreg fell, left to die. A forgotten pirate, set on a path towards salvation. His crew had raided the moon looking for ether. They found only death. And then he was alone. Hierax, the small, Hierax, the timid, the weak, was lost to the depths of the hellmouth. A solitary scavenger down among the hollows, where dead things dwell. How he survived is a story untold, an impossible tale known only to Hierax himself. In that secret is his strength. For the poor, weak, pathetic Hierax came out of that hell as a something other. Still fallen, still alone, but changed by all he'd seen and learned. His mind open, set adrift through the wonders of all the nightmares he had ever imagined. Some say he spent his time hidden in the shadows of that cruel land, scouring the mysteries of the world's grave. Others suggest he peered into a hateful shrine and found truth in the unutterable horrors whispered from beyond the abyss. Truth is, only Hierax knows. Truth, as simple as it is puzzling. Yes, he did. Scour the grave, hear the whispers. Only then could all that followed transpired. For a lowly dreg to rise from their docking to stand as a baron is rare enough, but that a fallen of any stature could crack the layers of understanding that barricade the known universe from the ascended plane is more than improbable. It was impossible. Until it wasn't. For Hierax succeeded, where so few have. He crafted his own throne world and began a monstrous quest to expand his knowledge, etching its harshest truths upon his enemies. And his work has progressed unchecked. It is the name of the children who do not speak when sharing tales of the haunting of Nemesis. It is his blood that paladins and corsairs alike wish to spill for the slaughter at Gasper. Hierax twisted. Hierax ascended. The mind-bender whose tongue is a weapon, whose experiments seek to unravel sanity and reshape imagination, that his subjects may become other, tools of his vile bidding. And so the warning spread. When the fallen who speaks in the language of the damned calls, do your best not to listen, for once his words take hold, you shall fade, replaced by its antithesis. And then, like that poor, weak, fallen dreg, you too will know darkness. You too will be alone. Riddled with lies. Trust is your shield. Trust is your weakness. In the end, we all fall to betrayal. Excerpt from C.C. Lagrange. A simple riddle for you to consider. Only truth can conquer lies. But what is truth? And in whose eyes? What then of the Butcher of Bamberga? What then of the Psych Horde Slayer, the terminus of the Grey Legion? the silver of the shadowed veil, the bandage of old Bassa, the dire siren of Valian's reprieve. What then of so many who are one, a single scourge, responsible for so many varied tragedies? The trickster, the liar, silver-tongued Araxes, the wit. She who bartered with the spider and nearly cost him his life. She who swindled a dozen bounty hunters that she alone may profit. So many tales of Araxes' sleight of hand and tongue and mind. The enemy who has won battles where no battle was fought, who has killed more rivals than ever risen to her challenge. What is known and unknown, none can say, and the sly prankster would have it no other way. Of all the barons marked by scorn, it is Araxes to fear, for her greatest weapon is the disillusion of truth. She will give you certainly, only to reshuffle the deck. She will grant you desire, only to reveal it is truly regret. If this realm can allow for gods, then she may be the first among devils, unknowable, unpure. Her tongue will cut you down long before your body falls. If you don't believe, if you find yourself questioning the depths of her deceit, ask yourself a simple question. Did you kill her? And if you did she die? If the answer is yes, her trap is set. If your answer is... it's okay, you don't have to say it. Maybe you'll survive out amongst these wild shores longer than most. Though maybe not as long as you'd like. Anguish, tenfold. Be wary of those who would do you harm, yourself included. Mind that you do not become undone. For once infliction is tinged with joy, you are not but a beast. And are we not more than that? Do not strive for better. Excerpt from Cecil the Grange's translations. It was Rexus Vaughn who saw to the final days of the House of Wolves. With cold hatred, the hunted and slaughtered their servers, until none remained, and thus a rabid house did fall. Rexus Vaughn's rage was not sated, as the wolves alone were not the architects of his fury. All fallen who clung to the ritual of house politics were his enemy, total and complete. It was told that he was starved as a young dreg. He watched in agony as others grew strong, while he and his closest brothers and sisters were kept low. They were unworthy, pathetic, unwanted. Rexus was ever aware. He saw the lie of the Archon's worship, how servitors were revered upon a pedestal of godhood as a means to control the masses. Maybe there was a time where the fallen theology was one with greater concerns. No more. The house is fractured, all at war with one another. Old graces long since neglected in favor of a more desperate purpose, survival. While cast low, Rexus found strength in his growing hatred, only when he found common disdain among those twisted outcasts who would call themselves scorned, who wore their hatred decision as a badge of honor. Rexus also found an outlet for his anger. His new brothers and sisters saw great value in his unchecked aggression. They were all a bit mad in their own right, all a bit twisted. But where others slipped towards insanity, Rexus's mind and intent were clear. The agony of a terrible death was his aim. The target of his wickedness, the very servitors he had been denied, the very machines that sustained the fallen. He would tear and slice and rend their metal until the hissing deaths rang across the shore, the reef, the entire system. He would make all who did not stand with the scorned barons feel the anguish for he once felt, tenfold. And he would do so gleefully, watching the life drain from their eyes. A blind eye towards tomorrow. They who draw mustn't always draw first, for it is not speed that kills, but the eye, keen and sharp. So then, do not feel death. See it, know it, and it shall manifest upon the trigger's embrace. Pyrrha, the phantom. Pyrrha, the blind. The fallen baron with the all-seeing eye and the crack shot. You woke and link him to the legend, the ghost of Hellrise Canyon, believing it was Pyrrha, and Pyrrha alone, who haunted the winding depths, picking off intruders and holding off corsair raiding parties as his fellow barons planned their violent reign in the maze of caverns near the canyon's heart. He was unseen during the wolves' uprising, but many credit him with the assassination of the Queen's palace guard. None can verify. fatal. But how can a blind pirate who has been discarded and scorned by his house become the deadliest shot this side of Mars? This is where the Baron's true strength lies. They are a devil worthy of your hate, but together they are so much more. It's not simply devils, but hell itself, manifest, angry, and aggressive. Rumor and legend merge to tell the machinist's expert hand, the rifleman's cybernetic eye, and a link between his sight and the tracking system on his rifle. What he sees, he hits. What he hits, he kills. There is evidence of Fallen giving themselves to technology, becoming other, becoming more, as they marry their physical selves to enslaved mechanics. The mercenary Tanix is one example. More machine than Fallen now, an abomination in the eyes of traditional Fallen belief. The Splicers and their augmentation through Siva, a twisted experiment brought low by the mighty hand of the Heroes of Iron. Is Peter any different? The Barons and Tanix and the Splicers are each and all individual dangers, driven by their own ambition. They are more likely to wage war with one another than to see the commonality. Yet are they not of a kind? Are they not evidence of something greater, wending its way throughout the Fallen's dying culture? Are they not the warring signs of a terrible new evolution? One can only wonder and hope. These horrid amalgamations of life and technology are simply outliers, and not a promise of tomorrows yet to come. The Ragged Valley Sprint. Many are lost to the shore's wayward ebb and flow. The shifting mass gives and takes, pulls and tears. The ground beneath ever uncertain, so tread carefully, as other dangers distract. Death lingers, its grip loose, but present, waiting to take hold, waiting to embrace all who walk these tangled lands. Excerpt from Cease of the Grange. The Ragged Valley is long and harsh, and no valley at all. Not by traditional definition. Its hollow length runs between the street of lashed asteroids and the shore's western edge. They call it a valley to be poetic, but in truth, it's simply the chaotic space between massive rocks that scrap and smash into one another in a violent dance. The distances from mass to mass ebb and flow without warning, a constant, deadly repositioning of the landscape. That ever-changing hollow is the valley. Only the mad and desperate would dare run its length, with one exception. Yavix, the rider. The reason she made the run challenges with the telling. You know she's neither mad nor desperate, with what her skills on a pike and killer determination. But the run itself. It's a legend and all as inspiring as any Guardians, save the fact Yavix is a wicked beast and better off dead. The story goes she was running ether, making off with lost Golden Age tech. Some say Clovis Bray science. Others tell it was drivers from a forgotten Warmind. Or maybe she had just dropped a Guardian and was running full throttle from a fire team set on revenge. A common theme this far out. Or was it pride? Did a captain or Kell or Arkin challenge her ability to ride? Did Vic roll? After all, their relationship is complicated. None of that matters. Not to me. Each version of the start is as interesting as the next. But the run itself? Her ride through the gnashing jaws of death. Most Guardians who have heard it dismiss it. Don't want to give credit to one so infamous. Scorned Baron with the blood on her hands, the loot in tow as her burners set to top speed. But she deserves it. Don't ask me. Don't believe me. Ask Marcus Wren. He wasn't there that day, but he'd heard tell and couldn't believe, so he made the run for himself. 4 goes, no dice, 1 resurrection. 4 sparrows busted the rubble. Marcus Wren, the Sparrow Racing League champion and hero of the speed junkies and racehounds citywide, couldn't sprint that valley. Too random, he said. Too chaotic. Can't read the rock 1 minute to the next. Can't read the angles. But he tried again, and on the 5th go he'd scraped through a narrow as the collision hit. He'd made it. The impossible was possible, though he refused to admit Yavix could have done the same. Not that it mattered. That Wren could have came out alive proved it could be done, and if it couldn't, why not Yavix? Not that Yavix ever cared for validation. Not yours, not Wren's, not any Guardians, not any Fallen. Not anyone's. She took pride and recognition from her brother and sister Barons, and no other. Honestly, I've gone through it, and it ain't that bad. Truth tinkered. Out here, they who craft their own fate see tomorrow. while they who depend on faith rarely make it through today. Excerpt from C.C. Lagrange. This may not live in infamy in the heart of city dwellers. The reef and its awoken know all too well her long reign of terror. A Lycris, a bandit, they call her. A Lycris, a scourge. The scorned machinist, tinker lord of a houseless crew. But should those names be new to your ears, there are others, you trust, who have felt the pain of her vile campaign. Ask your Iraq the machinist's deeds. Ask him about the siege of Iran, a hijacked ship, stolen contents, and its guardian protectors lost or captured at the hands of the scorned. Speak to your vanguard of the soulless descent. More guardians felled and their armory stripped of its cash. The lowly dreg who challenged tradition only to be cast aside. A lowly dreg who found her own strength in a troubling bond with the forsaken kin. She grew strong as an outcast, grew mean. Then found her purpose with the guidance of a preacher sorts and new, war-driven crew. Now then, the question you must ask yourself, had you known of the Baron's deeds, had you heard tell of the machinist's crimes, could you have changed the path to tread from here to there, from yesterday to today? Better yet, your vanguard, your factions, your friends and allies. What have they kept from you? If they spoke not of the scorned barons, if they had issued no warning, it is because they simply did not see the full scale of the danger. Were they too distracted by wars within wars, and interests of their own, to issue the guidance needed for you to see the shore from the threat it has always been? Perhaps given guidance that may well have saved countless lives. Or at least one life in particular. An evolution of faith. Find your honor not in your station, nor the words and gifts of those who seek control, but in yourself, in your actions, deeds, and soul. To look anywhere else is a lie. C.C. Lagrange. Fickrol was an Archon. Then Fickrol took a fall, beaten, docked, and banished for heresies against the Lixney faith. He should have died, alone and starved of precious ether. He did not. Instead, he found kin in the form of 7 scorned. With them, he found purpose and power. As their legend grew up, he found believers in new truth. His banishment was not penance, it was reward for his convictions, for his courage. Fickrol, the crazed fanatic. Fickrol, the heretic Archon who spoke against the very faith he once held dear, scorned and forgotten, but only for so long. Fickrol was a dreg. Before his banishment, before the clarity of purpose, Fickrol was a celebrated leader of fallen faith, and a savior to those who embraced his teaching. Archons had long been elevated in fallen society, but their stature grew and their role shifted following their war wound. As desperation took hold and the last of the fallen raced across the stars in search of salvation, their dependence on machines evolved into a deep-rooted need. The weapons to fight, the ships to fly, their servitors to survive. That need became worship. That worship became faith. In the Archons, those who oversaw their care and consecration of the servitors were looked upon to provide hope through their words, teachings, and interpretation of the machines' wants, needs, and desires. But Fickrol saw another path, one that would later be mimicked and twisted by the techno-deviant splicers in their plague lands of Earth, while he and his explored their own darker interpretations of faith. Fickrol was a fanatic, scorned and abandoned. Fickrol is all who strive to regain strength of self and purpose. He is the survivor. He is the outcast priest of the broken plains, and his sermon is death and all the glory that follows. In Fickrol's eyes and those of the outcasts who rallied to his philosophies, machines were not superior. They were not gods, they were tools. Instruments to be mastered and controlled and manipulated in the service of Elixir pride. None should grovel for ether. None should have their honor bound to the whims of manufactured deities. But the evolutionists were tools. Why not life itself? Why not death? There are many tales at the time between Fickrol's fall and his rise again as spiritual leader of the scorned barons. His struggle to find strength as a battered dreg. His journeys across a system that challenged his faith. His joining with the other outcasts who were scorned. His eventual union with his quote-unquote father. The only thing that matters, however, is when confronting the dangers of Fickrol is this. He is a creature of faith. His faith is the antithesis of all who stand in the light. That faith has raised an army. That faith will baptize all who challenge its purpose in an unending sea of death. They will never stop. They will never give in. Because they know they are right. And everything you do stand for is wrong. A scorned path. Surviving is a whole lot easier when your enemies are dead. Excerpt from Cease to the Grange. It was the Lycris, the machinist, who had begun hoarding the servitors, and Rexus, the hangman, who slaughtered them at any turn. Two allies driven by opposing forces. One science and the unmaking of faith, the other rage in its relentless push to destroy. There had long been tension between the two, as Rexus had, more than once, slipped into the machinist's workshop to inflict himself on the servitors caged there. Fickrul, the fanatic, and the spiritual leader and one-time Arcan priest, watched patiently as their rivalry grew. He saw strength in their ire. He saw fire and fury, but also more. A new path forward. One that could join their passion and drive them further. A whole lot stronger than its warring parts. Fickrul waited, biding time as tensions rose and threatened to splinter the Baron's loyalties. Only the Lycris could take no more. On a night where she caught the hangman prepared to slaughter the last tall lesser servitors, did Fickrul step in. Fickrul motioned to the Lycris and said, "Bring me a servitor." As Rexus hissed with anticipation, she hesitated. But Fickrul was patient. "Use your trust." A Lycris released the servitor from its bondage. Fickrul motioned the servitor closer and turned to a Lycris. "You have gathered many machinists, hundreds, maybe more. Our own supply. All life force fled by slaved mechanics." A Lycris nodded to the servitor as it inched closer to the Arcan's open arms, welcoming the once revered orbs as one would a child. The other barons began to bark a rhythmic warrior's chant. "For all the value in your work, it is not enough to feed ourselves." Fickrul hugged the servitor. There was a tenderness to the embrace, a sorrow. "You must also starve our enemies, as you were once starved." With a blur, Fickrul's lower arms unsheathed and triggered a pair of polished, sparking shock blades. "As we were all." The servitors, still held within the clutches of the Arcan's powerful upper arms, cried a shrill digital retch, pain mixed with confusion as the blades carved its outer shell and plunged deep into the core of its systems. Ether hissed and sprayed. Fickrul released the machine's silent shell, and it clanged lifeless to the ground. He turned to Lycris. "Did you see?" Lycris smiled. She was ever the brightest among them, though her focus could lose clarity when she became frenzied. The barons had long been troubled for the awoken and fallen of the reef, but that trouble had been limited to hit-and-run tactics. Fickrul just presented with a new way. Fickrul stepped to Rexus. "Do you say?" The brute barked in response. "Kill them all." Fickrul laughed. "Not all, hangman. Just ones we do not need." The barons cheered as Fickrul continued. "Every servitor, any servitor bound to your house is our target, and shall none remain but at those upon which we feed." A gift of madness. A song of the grinding stone calls like pained sirens, shrill and uneven. Its melody is a warning, yet they still come. Adventurers, bounty hunters, scoundrels, and unwanted. Here they find purpose, or hide from those worlds beyond. These polite lands which heroes strive to reclaim. There's no reclamation here. The shore is ever wired, and so it shall remain. Ever the broken land where madness dwells and violence reigns. Excerpt from Cease to the Grange. The question no one asks. Was the bomber always mad? Or was he driven to it? Was the madness a gift or a curse? Did he struggle survival outside the structure and ritual of the house system crack his mind? The things he'd seen, done, the shore asks much of those who call it home. Most simply find their end through a harsh will of these harsh lands, or by the hand of the hardened agents who stalk its fractured expanse. Bandits, cutthroats, cannibals, awoken patrols, guardian heroes. There are a billion ways to die among the jagged wilds of the tangled shore. To challenge those odds is no small feat. To do so while maintaining self, rarer still. However, isn't it also possible the bomber was like this all along? Mad, deranged, eager to inflict destruction, lustful for the chaos and death to follow. The seeding of the accretion fields, the bombing of the origin libraries, Cannix's handiwork has been linked to numerous tragedies, both as a rogue enemy of the reef and in league with his scorned brothers and sisters, with whom he grew strong, with whom he found the purpose he once lacked. These points, in examination of the birth of madness, are raised to address a lingering concern. Seek the awoken libraries. Speak to the cryptarchs with knowledge of the reef, the shore. Scour the records of the bomber's deeds. Feel the pain of those who suffered the fire of his devastation. Remember the fields. Weep at the unimaginable loss when the libraries fell. Allow yourself the comfort of knowing the sinister creature is now dead and gone by guardian hand. But linger on victory's pride for only a short while, because the truth I seek to tell has yet to be revealed, and it is this. The mad bomber is dead. Cannix is no more. Yet the shore remains ever untamed, despite valiant effort, despite your incredible strength. And if the shore remains tangled, its edges ever shifting, ever dire, then who else may it drive to madness? First long-lost survivals of the fabled Golden Age, then stray awoken and discarded fallen. Maybe next, the warriors of the light. Guardians. After all, more will surely come, and with more, however righteous you may be, the odds shift further in the shore's favor, in favor of madness. If not another guardian, why not you? That has some connotations I do not want to think about. No heroes here. Every inch of ground beyond the city walls is dangerous, safety not guaranteed. And all the inches across every world in this dead and dying system, none are harder than every single inch of the tangled shore. This is not simply untamed space. It's worse. It's outlaw territory. The worst of a bad lot come to find their fortune, play their trades, or run from their sins. None who has ever walked the shore's broken stone has come back clean. Out here you gotta break the rules just to get by. Your moral compass? You better hope it's on the frisk, because you're doing the right thing will only get you killed. Unless you're strong enough to do it the wrong way. So, wall talk. Wall tall, the locals can sense the meek. Stand firm. Back down will only see you trampled. And aim true, each miss could be your last. Otherwise, go home. The shore ain't a place for heroes anyways. I butchered a lot of that. The lonely and dead. Out here, the lonely fall in the company of those bound by the purest need. Survival. Find this truth. Not your heart, your mind. If not your mind, then your soul. The deepest part of you that connects to the most basic truths. To live for tomorrow, you have to fight for today. Know this, understand it, live it. Find those like-minded survivors you can look to as kin. Only then can survival be within reach, because to walk the shore unbound is to invite death. Excerpt, cease to the Grange's translations. The sad story of Eldred Rush. I'll tell you of Eldred Rush. He didn't come out of this way looking for trouble. He ain't a fool either. He knew trouble waited. He just didn't care. Couldn't, some would say. Eldred was a prospector of sorts, digging around these parts in some search of memories he considered gold. He had a mission, personal and true. Find the rock on which his people fell. Some tell that he was the first guardian to walk this deep. It's not true, but fits his tale and makes for a better legend. Lonely Eldred, walking these lands, cycle upon cycle, avoiding conflict when he could, but always hitting back when push came to shove. He was a gentleman, but violent and riled. Eventually, he found the spot where ancient survivors of an ancient collapse huddled and died. There, at the sight of all he had lost, in an old life that was long since beyond his grasp, Eldred buried the dead he could not remember, but felt in his heart. Never saw Eldred again. No one did. Alright, so that one's a little bit hard to understand. I'll go over that one a little bit later. Gotta do more than the shoot. A lot of things to consider when sizing up a gunfight. Most just focus on steely eyes and steady nerves, and those who have value. But the best of slingers weigh so much more. The light in the sky or lack thereof. The temp of the breeze, how cool, how warm, which direction is the wind hitting and how hard. Further still, the ground beneath your boots, is it solid or soft, shifting or slick? All elements speak to the moment of the truth. The wear of the holster, the feel of the grip, but first and foremost, the best slinger will say never pick a gunfight with unfamiliar tools, unless the situation dictates an unavoidable outcome, or those instances where honor comes a calling. Ceasing the Grange.
It's all going into the wrong van.
That reads too much like Cade.
What do you think this machine does?
I need to find that lore book.
Well, that's no good.
How do you get this season's lore book? Because we need to go over that. We really need to go over that. Well, let's go over. I think I've read all the I've read all the ghost stories that I have on stream already. Those are the ones when I read those while I was venturing through the Tangled Shore. Robotics! Yeah, let's read these two. 2 cells. Petra called for not 1 but 2 cells. Vodex finished his ether, considering. Perhaps Cade had finally found Fickrol. For that, Vodex would need every drop of strength he could muster. His strides were long and slow as he allowed the ether to course through him, his posture growing taller and more commanding with every step. At the top of the Maxek wing, his hands flew over the controls. He prepared the 2 empty cells and ordered the extraction servitors into place. All the while, reveling in the thought of the judgment of Fickrol. Finished, he stepped back and waited. Snarling, yelling, the prisoners entered the wing. One, in Alexney. Petra shoved hard into one of the 2 cryo cells. The fallen landed weak, and Petra sealed the cell door. Vodex was all too pleased to see the hulking, disgraced Fickrol, the lifeline of the scorned barons, his once trusted co-conspirator and great betrayer, seething as the extraction servitors were to life, snapping the heretical arcane of his precious ether. Vodex and Fickrol looked deep into one another's eyes, centuries of history passing between them in the space of a heartbeat. Fickrol laughed. Unnerved, Vodex stepped away as Cade dragged a ragged humanoid figure, head bagged, face unseen. Cade unceremoniously tore off the hood and tossed the humanoid, in a will command, into the open cell. "I didn't say there," Cade said. His joke fell flat. On hands and knees, the stranger looked up at his captors and revealed a familiar mess of crow-black hair, blue skin, and piercing yellow eyes. Vodex. It was the face of Waldron Soft, brother to the Queen, Prince of the Awoken, and heir to the Reef. Your Grace! Vodex couldn't help but use the title, like a reflex. As he looked into the prince's eyes, he saw a fleeting shadow of darkness dance across the normal ethereal golden glow. Vodex looked back to Petra. Petra Venge, I do not understand. I know, something's wrong with him. Vodex, he's mad. Look him down. Lock down the entire cell block. No one but you and me. Speak of this to no one else. And as far as the system is concerned, Uldren Sov died over Saturn. Vodex looked to Cade for answers, but the ex just threw his hands up in the fence. Don't look at me. Prince Windyface and Fickroll were thick as thieves when we found them. All I could do to not shoot either of them. Petra nodded towards the now royal sill, and Varix, with only a hint of hesitation, sealed the hatch, locking Prince Uldren in. Now, Varix, Kate said, smoothly to her, you let me know if Fickroll here ever comes up to the arena. He and I have a conversation to finish. Of course, of course. Varix noticed Petra's gaze lingered a little too long on the prince's cell. He could see what she was troubled, even ashamed. Petra saw him watching and composed herself back straight, all wrath. She met his eyes. He could see her trouble, her shame. Varix, my friend, was the tenderness Varix heard in Petra's voice. He's changed. His eyes. She stopped herself and he said, if he speaks, don't listen. He speaks lies. Terrible lies. And with that, she walked away, Cade close behind. The doors to the cell box slammed shut behind them. Varix stood there for a long, long time. For the first time in his life, he didn't know what his next step should be. Petra Venge and Uldren Sov had long admired long enough for her. There was an easiness about them when they were together, in a deep, if unspoken, affection. When the two of them joined forces in the field of battle, they were quick, effective, and dangerous. There was this dance of death and woe to the foe who met them in open combat. Varix wondered for what crimes Petra would have Uldren judged. As he reopened the prince's cell, he wondered if Petra would have Varix himself judged. Varix knelt before Uldren. We thought you dead, but you are in my care now, yes? His arms carefully brushed the awoken man, probing the gentle. Uldren blinked and looked towards him, or rather, his golden eyes looked beyond him. Varix looked over his shoulder, just to check. Of course, no one was there. Sister, Uldren croaked, though dried, cracked lips. What's becoming of us now? Oh no. Varix is kind of... Oh. Oh no. Alright, so we haven't heard of Varix since this lore book. We have no idea where this guy went. We know what happened to Uldren and Fickroll. Uldren was killed and got rezzed as a guardian. Fickroll is still kind of out there, but like really weird about it. And Varix was convinced by Uldren to actually let him out. And that's what happened with the prison break, and that's what killed Cade. So of course Varix thought that Uldren was being, like, basically guided by Mara. Just as Uldren thought he was being guided by Mara. So, while I can say that Varix isn't exactly innocent, he also isn't exactly guilty. He's, basically in the same boat as Uldren was. And
When I say push, you push.
we haven't seen him since. He's supposed to be loyal to Mara. He still calls her his, the Kel of his house. He's trying to restart the House of Judgment. Which was basically the lawyer house back in traditional Extinct society. And now that he's gone missing, we haven't heard much from him. Which is a little bit concerning. Because he left under the assumption that Mara was still alive. Which is a bit of an issue. Now, I don't have all the lore books in this yet. I want to get them. But I don't know how to get them. Letters from a renegade. Wait, let's see. Alright, so these are the lore books that you get whenever you try to get the Thorn in Lumina, I believe. I did nothing in Dawning last time. So let's read through the 3 books that I have here. An Introduction to Consequence. We must each walk our own path, find our own way, every step forward unique to the lives we've led, the choices we've made. Yet we're connected, all of us, by choice, by consequence, by random luck, and those steps taken and decisions made. Our individual lives shaped by the person we were, the person we are, the person we claim to be, the person we hope to be, the stages of our singular existence. Or so we tell ourselves, lost as we are in our own stories. In truth, there is no I, no singular existence. Never has been, never will be. You, me, your fire attendant friends, your allies and enemies, all lives move with, collide with other lives, for better or worse, to form the whole of a lifetime. Lifetimes? It took me a long time to understand this. None of us are alone. I call it the first understanding. It's a bit of an inside joke, but I think maybe you get it. In fact, I'm quite certain you do. That's why I'm writing you. It's by now, after a life removed from the bigger picture, I'm risking everything I am on a simple bet. That you're different. That you're better than me, than them, than those who attempt the dark. This is what I need you to understand. Your path is not your own. It's shared. It has impact. It carries consequence and creates wake, both obvious and unseen. And the path you're currently walking is concerning. For yourself, whether you see it or not. More importantly, for others. For those you will influence. Collisions yet to come. New paths unimagined, collateral impacts beyond the narrow view of your own life. Have you considered this? I ask not to sway you. You will find your way. And I will hold off judgment until judgment is necessary. I will ask, because we are at our best when considering the fallout of our intentions, good or bad, grand or small. That's all I'm after, your now, your consideration. The deeds left behind, and the deeds yet to come. What do you claim to be? What do you hope to be? And how do the ripples of those answers expand to touch the lives around you? Think on your life and your actions, and continue ever forward. I will help where I can, with knowledge gained from a life hunting the very dangers you tempt. And though we'll never meet, our crafts crossing at a distance as we each seek to confront all that drives us. From this moment on, our lives will never be the same. My name is Shin Malfer, and I believe you, Guardian, are the hope I was told was a lie. For Fear, the Conquering Hero. I knew a man once. Some claim he was a monster, and I agreed for a very long time. Anymore, I refuse to honor him with the power such labels imply. Monster, beast, other. Terror is meant to frighten, meant to weaken, but to control. There are no monsters. Only the broken and misunderstood. Still terrifying, sure, but knowable. Conquerable, unworthy of the power they possess. This man, clad in black and misshapen by the weight of his sins, professed to wield hope as a weapon, to offer it as a crutch, a beacon he saw as false promise. Nothing dies like hope, he'd say, and he was right. The loss of hope stings like no other. But he knew something else, a truth he would not share, a truth muddied by his words and deeds and the grim menace of his presence. And that truth? Hope is eternal. It may fade, may get lost in the pain and suffering of existence, but it's always there. Somewhere, hidden maybe in plain sight or far from view. This man who craved fear, who inflicted its curse on all he encountered, once conquered the life-death game that will become your training ground. Seeing you and other guardians enforce your will over your fellow champions of the light is reminiscent of the ease with which he is said to dispatch his rivals. But you are not his equal. None are. Not Lord Shax, not Zavala, none of his shadows, and the new breed who wear his title like a badge of honor. Dredgen means abyss. It's an ancient tongue. Not human, not hive, just forgotten arcana. Another layer of uncertainty and fear. draped around a bastard to provide comfort against his sins. It means nothing. It's a void, as is his path. And while you enjoy your victories and embrace the competitive fires of the Crucible, I would ask you to reflect once more upon yourself. Do you find joy in the challenge, or in the pain you inflict upon your quote-unquote enemies? Do you revel in the thrill of facing your equal in combat, and testing the limits of your might? Or do you take pleasure in the breaking of their spirit? Reflect on the answers you find. Seek yourself within the truth of your deeds. Are you a hero, or are you a conqueror? One can harness the other, but the opposite is not true. For what it's worth, I see both in you. A fire inside. How did it feel? Hunting the crow, tracking him down the tangled wilds of the reef, hunting the barons, one by one, stalking the cutthroats who killed your friend. Was it righteous, or pure anger, vengeance driven by a lust for justice? I know the feeling, and the sensation, loss, followed by a hole so big you can't fill it with anything but retribution. I felt that hole twice. First, when everything I'd known was turned to ash. I was just a child then. No way of knowing when, or if, the pain would end. A man, Jared, my third father, helped redirect that pain, give me purpose, taught me to hunt, taught me to survive, taught me about vengeance. It felt good, like a fire inside, or so I thought. In truth, the good was just a dulling of the pain, a covering up the burden of my loss through the redirection of my focus. Why be sad? Why be broken when you can be angry? So I was, for a long time. After Jaren died, killed by the would-be monster and his weapon of sorrow, I hated him for a good while. I was alone again, lost. I had no direction. I felt abandoned. Just me and the hole left by losing everything I knew. The man who destroyed my life twice over. First the burning of Halamon, my home, then the murder of my mentor and father figure. Still walked the wilds, but I was just a young man, angry and frightened. Vengeance, the fire inside me, was a weight, not a comfort, because I lacked the confidence needed to see it through. I spent a long time mad, at the murderer who played his shadows, and then Jared leaving me. The world, myself for being lost, at Jared's ghost for not believing in me. My anger defined me, as did yours, for a short while. What I wonder is, have you ever considered Cade's death was not the origin of your recent aggression, but simply a catalyst for its release? It's possible this whole second life of yours was driven by vengeance. For the life you lost before your return as a guardian, the world's lost to the great collapse. Are you truly fighting to protect and reclaim? Or have you been fighting this whole time to avenge? What are you fighting for now? Does your anger define you? If yes, if no, what are the consequences of either? Honestly, truly ask yourself, what are you fighting for? And if you feel a fire, even a spark, welling up inside you. Now this lore book right here shares prominence, especially now. Because we don't know what we're fighting anymore. And this might be the first time we're fighting, not because we're told, but because we have to. Things are changing in the world of Destiny right now. A lot of stuff. Things are happening. We're seeing Siva, we're seeing Dark Guardians, we're seeing all sorts of bullshit. We're seeing the rise of Kettle and possibly her trying to take over the Red Legion. We're seeing, well, the Almighty barreling towards us. We're having the darkness come, because that is also a thing. Fucking edgy Doros coming after us, trying to murder us all. But then we also have the good stuff, like this. Not very happy about the state of the hunters right now. We can do better, folks. But, hey, at least we have a couple of games. But the interesting is we need to consider what our guardians are doing. Because we haven't really fought for ourselves in quite a while. We've been fighting to help Eris, which is awesome. We've been fighting to help reclaim the city, also awesome. And now we're fighting to protect literally everything. And if that isn't a weight on our shoulders, I don't know what is. It's really interesting to consider because even if you're an immortal 5-year-old dumbass, you're definitely well, you're a full-grown human. Mental capacity for processing this. You definitely should be processing this. Because this is a lot. There's a lot going on right now, and I don't know if we're ready to handle this.
No social grace.
Maybe it's about time we start thinking through what our actions are going to be. And while fighting for the good of everyone is amazing, it's about what defines a hero. The other thing that defines a hero
The life of a guardian is a life of loss.
really just being sure of what you're doing. It's like, honestly, at this point, I have no idea what we're supposed to be doing. All that we're doing right about now is waiting. We're setting up shop, and we're waiting. Waiting for shit to go down. Waiting for things to happen. Waiting for trouble to start brewing. And
Are the archives finite?
while some people say that's boring, if you think about it, it's kind of scary because this is the first time that our guardians really haven't had a place to go and do shit. And, well, you don't have something to do in order to get your mind off the, ever-crushing stuff that happens. You're gonna want to start thinking about it. And then your brain just starts collapsing. Looking back at the lore book letters from a renegade would probably be a good thing right about now. If y'all have all the lore books for the letter of the renegade, I suggest you read them. Read them through and really take to mind what they're saying. Because Shin's words really should be taken in right about now. Even more than, whenever we're hunting a giant death gun. We're fighting a giant death machine, and that's kind of a little bit bigger than just one tiny little gun. Well, actually, if you think about it, the Almighty is a gun, it just fires planets instead of bullets. But that's a different story. A little bit of semantics, but
It's just one. Checking right now.
But it is suggested that, we definitely should be thinking through what's going on. Because whenever there's a standstill in events, it's usually good to start thinking through, what happened before that standstill. Trying to think, hey, what caused this? Why are we just not doing anything right now? What's going on? Why is everything standing still? I'm not used to this. Someone please help. I might need a blanket. Just, the usual. Also, this is just basically canon in my mind. The Guardian, basically needs a therapy session, okay? No one can survive being the world saver for this long without a goddamn therapy session, because, okay, that was close. Because, well, that's gonna start weighing on your ass, and that's not exactly good. Which is why I usually like spending time and adventuring throughout this system, because then you get to see all sorts of cool stuff. If I could turn back, I would. I'm stuck. I was stuck. I'm trying to get over there. So I got there, but I wonder what that friend's doing. I think he's doing the same thing. Build up speed, get over. Alright, we're good. Oh. Oh no, not again. Not again, please, let me out. The screen just vibrates. Okay, so there was a solid world barrier right about there. I want to go over those cannons now. got there. Oh wait, this is normally accessible. Heck. Alright, hold up, I'll be right back. I gotta use the bathroom. But maybe I'll pull up some stuff on the Ishtar Collective and then read through that.